Okay. Let's see. Man, I did not like that the Miss Marvel trailer at all. Okay, so one of the questions that I've been seeing a lot recently on that last video has to do with the Inhumans and whether or not the Inhumans, the TV show Inhumans, essentially, that TV show is so bad. For anyone who didn't watch the Inhumans TV show, basically it was supposed to be Marvel's alternative to Agents of Shield, where it was essentially putting forward a alternative superhero team while the Agents for Shield were essentially running off and doing their own thing. Now, before we got the TV show, I want to say around Iron Man 2, Vin Diesel was actually the forerunner for playing Black Bolt in the Inhumans. Like, there was going to be an actual Inhumans movie, and Black Bolt and the Inhumans were going to factor in essentially into the MCU in dealing with Thanos. I don't know what happened behind the scenes, but they decided not to go forward with Vin Diesel as Black Bolt and turn the Inhumans into a TV show for whatever reason. So we got the abomination that was Inhumans, and it was absolutely horrible. The CGI was horrible. The choices for the actors were absolutely abysmal. There was nothing redeeming about that show, and unsurprisingly, it got canceled after one season. It got so bad that they entirely just scrapped all plans for the Inhumans in the MCU. Not only did it scrap all plans for Inhumans in the MCU, the show was so bad that it actually had a negative effect on Inhuman sales. Now, a lot of you who don't know, the biggest sellers for Marvel are Spider-Man, the X-Men, and the Fantastic Four. Now, the Fantastic Four have kind of been backsliding a little bit, and they've taken the back seat for the most part, story-wise, after Secret Wars. Because of the Avengers movies, you saw an increase in sales of Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, Black Widow, all of them, Hulk, all of these characters saw their sales increase as their popularity in the MCU increased as well. The Inhumans did not see such a thing. With the complete collapse of the Inhumans TV show, it also put a dark mark on the Inhumans in general in whether or not they were a valid candidate for basically sales and marketing. It did not turn out that way. So as a direct result, what you're ended up seeing in the MCU currently, especially with Kamala Khan in regards to her powers, is the after effect of that, which is the Inhumans curse. The Inhumans TV show was so bad that it essentially tainted anything that involves the Inhumans, both on the comic book side and on the movie side of Marvel. Now, am I super fucking disappointed? Yes. I don't. Ooh, there's a. I don't think this show is gonna be good. I think it's gonna be decent, but I think it's going to probably be at the bottom of the Disney Plus shows. And that's not a negative mark to say exactly in any way, shape, or form, because at the bottom of the heap right now is Falcon and Winter Soldier for me. If I was rattling them off at the top of my head, I would say WandaVision, Loki, Hawkeye, and then Falcon and the Winter Soldier. That would be the pecking order. I would say once this gets introduced, it's probably going to be below Falcon and the Winter Soldier for me, because I'm the power changing thing is something that I don't think I'm going to be able to get over, because it's always going to irritate me. And what I mean by that is essentially when you sit down and you look at Kamala's character, it's a very dynamic, multifaceted approach. Now, I know that someone had said something along the lines of like her comic books didn't sell well. That is true. Her comic books did not sell well. they did well, but they weren't, like I said, top of the heap. Um, but her character, when it's introduced, if you want to have an interesting story, already off the bat, you're gonna have an interesting story with Kamala, especially with her ethnicity, because this is the first time we're getting a traditionally Muslim superhero that actually has Islamic roots and is a young Muslim girl growing up in America trying to find her own way. One of the things that I feel as though not giving her her traditional powers isn't going to do is it's going to remove the way in which she explores herself, which is she creates stories in her head. She looks at herself as basically a hero in training. She looks up to Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel. In the comic book, she takes the form of Carol and goes around trying to be a hero, which is funny because in the comic, she takes the form of the Miss Marvel version of Carol. And there's a weird dynamic there where it's basically a fan trying to live up to the legacy of this hero, but then at the same time realizing that they can't follow the legacy of that hero because that hero is, well, white, and she is not white, and as a result she has to forge her own path. But along that path as well, she's dealing with the horror side of her powers, which is she has two abilities, which is the embiggen, allowing her to increase the size of her limbs, but then also her stretching ability. Now, for the embiggen, there's a lot of, well, technically it's three powers. You have the embiggen, the increasing of her limbs. Then you have her stretching ability, and then you also have her ability where she can shapeshift and take another person's form. Now, for Kamala, the embiggen ability also adds on this new level of body dysmorphia, where the first time she embiggens, she kind of freaks out, because you would freak out if you had an ability and your hand grew 10 sizes and you weren't able to revert back to your normal self. So there's constant freakouts for her learning how to not only love herself and love her body and understand the way in which her body works, but understanding how her powers function. You're taking that away. If you're taking it away and you're basically saying, oh, it's just a bracelet and the bracelet gives her cosmic abilities, you're cheapening the character, because then anybody can essentially throw on the bracelet and go off and be a Captain Marvel clone. If you're saying that it's Kree technology and it's tied to her DNA, and because she equipped it, she now has like those abilities, once again, you're cheapening the character's, basically the character's journey. Because when the Terrigen Mist incident occurred in her comic book, thousands of people across the planet woke up and suddenly had abilities, and there was like a major freak out. Mutants were dying, Inhumans were being born, people were looking at Black Bolt and the Inhumans and they wanted to go to war for essentially the decision that they made. The X-Men and the Inhumans ended up going to war. I feel as though the decision not to make her into an Inhuman is going to kill a lot of the best aspects of her story, and also a lot of the more funnier aspects of her story. I'm really not digging, and I've said it before and I'll continue saying it, I am not digging in any way, shape, or form the idea that she's basically like a Green Lantern clone, where it's like, okay, so she can create constructs and she can run on constructs, and it's like we really didn't need one of those. If anything, Kamal could have been the test bed for Reed Richards' powers and how they're going to be portrayed in the MCU. I kind of feel as though the amount of money that you're wasting doing crystalline light-based constructs, you could have just gave her her limb ability and also her embiggen ability and basically save everybody the trouble. I'm really hoping that they release another trailer and that the next trailer that they release is a lot better than this one, because like I'm excited to see the character on screen, because out of the champions she was always one of my favorite champions, and it seems as though we're moving towards the Disney Plus side of things doing the champions, which will be dope as shit, because that would mean that we're probably also going to get Miles Morales in live action soon. and I would absolutely love a live action Miles Morales TV show. And then we're also getting the twins back, probably, hoping, after Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. But yeah, whew, it's a wait and see type situation where you're basically sitting down and you're waiting to see how this is going to play out in the future. And I'm really hoping that it plays out super well, because if this does not work and this sucks, then you're sitting down and you're hoping that when the Marvels movie comes out, or the Marvels movie comes out, that Monica Rambeau is going to be able to carry this thing, because I'll say it right off the bat, the very first Captain Marvel movie is a one and done for me. I watched it one time when it was in theaters. I've never sat down to watch it again. And I really never cared to sit down and watch it again because I thought it was boring. Now, Brie Larson's Captain Marvel, I thought she was better in Endgame when she was all business. That was better. I loved her in that. Monica Rambeau, I loved every single thing about her in WandaVision. Absolutely fantastic. I'm super fucking excited to see her. The third member of the Marvel family is, well, of the Marvel family is Kamala, and I'm interested in seeing her as well. But I'm really not digging the crystal constructs. Her powers may come from a bracelet thing. I think Marvel really needs to sit down and essentially explain how her powers work. I think it would have been a lot better in the first trailer if they explained that her powers are her powers, and that her powers aren't something that she's getting from like a magical space bracelet or something along those lines. But yeah, that's basically how I feel about the entire situation. It's like I said, like I'm excited for anything Marvel. I'll sit down and I'll watch the show on a weekly basis, but at the exact same time, like I'm not really I'm not really expecting much. But yeah, that's it for this one. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.